Welcome everyone to the premier broadcast of Development Effectiveness Strategies, the YouTube channel that's designed to provide effective and proven strategies to raise money and ensure that your organization is fully funded now and into the future. My name is Jim Dempsey, and our topic today is conducting effective virtual fundraising events. The goal of this video is to share the key elements to having a successful virtual event. In March of 2020, I was faced with a dilemma that many of you had to face: move from a live event to a virtual event. Well, as someone who has been doing live events for the last 36 years and 2,500 dinners, I knew how to do a live event well, but was now faced with the daunting challenge of having to build a virtual strategy. Unfortunately, I found out that there was very little out there on how to do a virtual event. So much of what I had to gain was through trial and error. Dinner after dinner in the spring of 2020, I was able to learn quite a bit about how to do virtual events. The first key element of success is expectations. Now, please understand that no virtual event will ever accomplish all that a live event will accomplish. I always like to say the key goals of a live event is appreciation, information, inspiration, and challenge. There is no way a virtual event is going to be able to cover all those kind of elements. But if you have to choose between a virtual event or no event at all, I would go with a virtual event simply because your partners need to hear about what you're doing, how their gifts were used, and even introducing people to your organization for the first time. Now, understand there are certain expectations. The first one is that you will get just 25% of what a normal live event will achieve. Now, as somebody who did over 50 events from a virtual setting in spring of 2020, that's pretty well documented that we had gotten about 25%. Now, it's also important to know that 60% of the people who normally come to your events will register to view your event. But unfortunately, only about 30% of those people who register will actually be online, or at least will be used as you'll be able to track their devices. Now, I always like to, on a positive side, I always like to hope that at least a good majority of those people were watching as couples or in groups, so there were significantly more than that. So it's important that you understand those expectations. Key element number 2 is timeline. You want to make sure that, as with most events, you're planning about 16 weeks minimum in advance of your event. And so for you to be able to accomplish all the elements we'll be talking about today, you want to make sure that you are setting aside at least a good amount of time to accomplish that. Now, the third element that we want to focus in on is that of program. Now, that includes participants, filming, and editing. Now, it's important that from a timing standpoint, you realize that your video should not go any longer than 30 minutes. I hate to say the attention span of individuals in this day and age is quite limited. And in fact, the sweet spot that we found is somewhere between 18 and 24 minutes to be able to achieve your maximum success for that event. Now, that's not a lot of time. And you may think, how do I put everything that I want to do in that short amount of time? You've just got to keep it very, very tight and make sure that you edit effectively. Now, the 4-minute rule was taught to me in spring of 2020, and it really was one of the most valuable things that anyone could have introduced to me. The 4-minute rule is that there should be absolutely no speaker that goes any more than 4 minutes at a time without some kind of a break, either a shift in location, so they're doing indoor as one portion, outdoor as the next, or in front of a building that you use often, or if you go out into the field to do some service in the community, shift those locations. Again, it's an attention span issue. You can also weave into those presentations. You can weave in testimonials, which is also very effective. Now, it's important that you understand the importance of the program elements and your participants. Now, the key program participants, first of all, is an MC. I believe it's important that you have an MC, someone who takes them along the journey, along the path as you're going through this broadcast. Secondly, you want to have an introduction video. You want to make sure that people understand who you are, and that even includes those people who have known you for a long time. If you have some kind of a video presentation that you've already put together that highlights what your organization does, very, very important to have that and to put that in there. The next element is what I refer to as an update that highlights key things such as your problem, your solution to that problem. So why was your organization created in the beginning? What is it that you're hoping to accomplish? And what kind of strategies do we do to help to solve that problem? And then lastly, what I refer to as accelerators. What are those things that are going to take your organization to the next level? And those accelerators are the things that people are interested in and that motivates people to give. Now, we introduced something a little bit different in this virtual event strategy, and that's doing what we refer to as a first half of appeal. Coming right off the update and addressing what the accelerators are, where the organization is headed, you also want to put a price tag on those accelerators. What is it that could be accomplished with people's giving? And through people's giving, those accelerators are achieved, and give them very specific. A gift of $600 will enable us to do this. A gift of $1,200 or $100 a month will allow us to do this. A gift of $2,400 or $200 a month will enable us to do this. Specifics. Now, that doesn't mean that your money has to be designated, but it does have to be very, very specific, that so that people can see how their money is used and spent. The next item would be that of testimonials. You want people who tell their story. There's a principle that I learned early on in development. It's people give to people, justified by the cause. And it's important that you focus in on the people and the relationships that are developed in that time. Now, lastly, you want to close the evening with an opportunity for people to participate through commitments over time, or also through a gift tonight. And so I recommend creating a form. We use a Google form that we created that allows people to put their commitment over time in there, generally anywhere from 90 days to 12 months, and allows them to give that night or that evening at that particular time. They can give as well. So you want to make sure that your Google form or any other form will capture the important items such as their name, address, city, state, zip, phone number, and email address. And also, as soon as they submit that, what I like a lot with a Google form is it gives you the opportunity to be able to immediately send them a link to give. And that's a great opportunity for people. So those are some of the key elements of the program, and of course you can end with the program. Make sure that you give them an opportunity to fill out that form, give them a few minutes, and make sure that they're given a link that if they can't give immediately or can't fill out that form immediately, that they at least have that link to use at another time. Now, key element number 4 is the marketing and promotion. And marketing and promotion is critical on any broadcast. You want to pick a date, you want to pick a time, and you want to drive people to that broadcast. And so make sure that your marketing and promotion starts at least 12 weeks in advance so that you are preparing people for this particular broadcast, this particular event that you will be having. Now, it's important to make sure that you utilize electronic communication, electronic save the date, electronic invitation date. All those elements are very critical. But the one element that I emphasize more than anything is the creation of hosts whose job it is to invite people to attend the broadcast. And that would be to watch it in their homes, or those hosts having watch parties. And we'll talk about watch parties in just a few minutes, but ensuring that people are on that broadcast. That's a critical element. Just as we would have table hosts filling tables, we want these hosts to ensure that people watch the broadcast. And in the same vein, you want to make sure that you do recruit for the broadcast. I recommend using a registration software. The one that I like best is a software called Ministry Sync or Attend Easy. It's just one of the most user-friendly softwares. It allows you to capture those people who have an intention of being on the broadcast. You also want to make sure that if you do have those hosts, if they are interested in doing a watch party, that they would invite their friends to watch on the broadcast of that event. And so I would recommend serving beverages, maybe even have an opportunity to have dessert, or even if they really want to, they could serve a meal or make it a potluck event. But something that would drive people together and a fellowship. And of course, everything is really related to what the particular standards are for gathering at that particular time. Now also too, you want to make sure if you are going to have watch parties that you let the hosts know what the URL is for the broadcast, but also the URL to give. And also, if you have some people who are older who may be interested in filling out an actual commitment card, I would send some of those in a table host packet with a self-addressed envelope for those hosts to use the night of your event. And I would also recommend as frequently as you can, email, e-blast, and call, and even text people an hour, half hour, 15 minutes before your broadcast to remind people that it's coming up. And again, utilize your registration software. If your registration software will capture those people who are actually on the broadcast, that's a great way to do it as well too. Now also, it's important as we're talking about promotion and marketing that we also look at the broadcast platform that you use. I recommend YouTube. I'm using YouTube here, and I recommend YouTube for that. I personally like the premier version where you can set the time and it will kick off on the day and the time that you want it to go. But some people like the added control feature of the manual YouTube broadcast, so just make sure that if you use that, you are using YouTube. Make sure you are using a broadcast software that you'll need for that as well too. The last key element, number 5, is follow-up. Follow-up is extremely important when doing a live event, but especially doing a virtual event. For those individuals who made a commitment or gave a gift, it's important to follow up with them through an actual letter, an email thank you, or a thank you phone call, and in some cases, depending on the gift size, a visit to those individuals. And typically my demarcation point is a gift of $600 over the next 12 months, either $50 a month or $600 over 12 months. That is the point by which I think it's important to make a phone call or even to have a visit with those individuals. Now, it's especially important if someone was not able to make the broadcast and of course not able to make a commitment or give a gift, to follow up with those individuals on a personal basis, either a phone call or a personal visit, to see if they'd be willing to give what they've given in the past, or if they had the potential to give what they'd be willing to give at this time. A virtual event is an important part of your development strategy. I mentioned earlier that nothing is more effective than a live event, but a virtual event is very important as you continue to cultivate relationship with your partners and to grow those people, to build them up and to lift them to higher giving levels. A virtual event is an important tool in your total development strategy. You can do it. It's important that you focus in on what the end results are. If this video was helpful for you, please go down below and click the thumbs up. And if you are able to, go down and click subscribe so that you'll be seeing more of these development effectiveness strategies. Thank you.